Hello and welcome to our new review. This is the Philips Airfryer HD9280 XL. We tested this air fryer for you, and you'll find out everything you need to know. So stay tuned. Let's get started with the HD9280. Before we get to our hands-on impressions, we'll give you a brief overview of the product itself in our Features and Technology section. The HD9280 comes with an output of 2000 watts and, according to our measurements, has a capacity of approximately 5.5 liters, which is quite a decent size for a XL air fryer. According to the manufacturer, this volume should be sufficient for 5 servings. 7 predefined programs, so-called presets, can be selected by the integrated touchscreen. Of course, you can also set the values individually. The temperature can be set from 60 to 200 degrees Celsius. And we also have an acoustic signal when the set time has elapsed. As already mentioned, the HD9280 can be classified as relatively large in terms of its capacity, although this is not noticeable in its actual size. At 30 × 30 centimeters, it is a relatively small air fryer. In terms of its depth, it is pretty average with around 39 centimeters. It should therefore be possible to fit this appliance in the kitchen in most cases. However, if you want to put the air fryer away after each use, the Philips has useful handles at the bottom of the appliance. Otherwise, the air fryer stands securely on non-slip feet and at approximately 80 centimeters has a fairly short but still sufficiently long cable. The probably most important feature of this air fryer is the Nutri-U app. This means that you can connect to the Philips air fryer via Wi-Fi and control it remotely from your couch via the app. We'll take a closer look at exactly how this works and what other features the app has to offer. If you prefer an appliance without any apps included, you can also get the Philips HD9270 version. This one is without Wi-Fi and comes at a slightly lower price. By the way, if you want to know where you can get the Philips HD9280 as cheaply as possible, take a look at the description below the video. There you will find a link to the product. We will also link the version without Wi-Fi for you there. That's it for the Features and Technology section. Now let's get down to the essentials, namely our hands-on impressions. The first thing we want to look at here is how to use the appliance and how to operate it correctly. So let's go through this together. First of all, place the air fryer on a heat-resistant surface, leaving as much space as possible around the appliance so that the heat can radiate. Then, go ahead and clean the appliance once before using it for the first time. You should at least rinse or wipe through the appliance once. When everything is dry, plug it into the socket and you can start using it. You briefly press and hold the power button to start the appliance, and now you have the following choice. Either you select one of the 7 predefined programs using the menu button, or you set the temperature and time individually using the up and down buttons. You can also press and hold to skip through the values more quickly. As a special feature, the Philips also has a preset to keep the food warm for 30 minutes at 80 degrees Celsius. Either way, once you have decided on a program, press the power button again to start the air fryer. Now we come to the operation through the app. First of all, you need to download the Nutri-U app. You can do this easily via the App Store or Google Play. The app will guide you through the setup. First, you have to select your device and put it into configuration mode. Then you connect to the Philips setup network and are finally asked to connect to your Wi-Fi. Once you have done this, there are just a few basic settings to prepare. For example, you have the option of setting up an Alexa voice control. This would even allow you to control the device hands-free with your voice. We skip this step and receive the message that we have successfully connected the air fryer. Now let's get cooking. First off, the app offers an overview and a range of functions. First, we browse through to the recipes using the navigation at the bottom of the screen. According to the manufacturer, there are over 500 recipe suggestions here. If that's true, that's quite a lot. We decided to show you the chicken taquitos. The recipe page is structured in such a way that you first get an overview, then a list of ingredients, and finally a few nutritional values. This is followed by step-by-step instructions in which the air fryer is fully integrated. You can even control the device directly from the recipe instructions. All you have to do is start the cooking process. You can even adjust the temperature and time values manually if you wish. Once the cooking process is complete, you have the option of keeping the food warm. If you have something else to do, you can press the button here and take your time. You also have access to the general presets of the air fryer via the navigation and can set the values individually from the start if you want to. Last, but not least, there are also recipes from the community and articles to discover. We suspect that this is probably the reason why so many recipes are available within the app. In summary, however, we are satisfied. The app looks good and is definitely fun to use. So much for the operation. But before we get to the cooking itself, I would like to say a quick word about the presets. These presets are basically helpful assets if you are not yet very familiar with the appliance or if you are trying out new products. But don't rely on them too much. Take a look from time to time to see what the food looks like, how it pans out in there, and then you can always think about it. Shall I flip it over now, or perhaps set different values to achieve the perfect result? Just remember, the presets are only rough guidelines basically. Accordingly, we did not rely too much on the predefined programs in our review and preferred to adjust them ourselves if in doubt. In doing so, the cooking results are really good, and this applies to almost all air fryers we reviewed. Fries are crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside, though you have to be a little careful that they don't get too dry. But basically, you get a good, tasty result. The same applies to chicken nuggets. We also tried it with wings. Here we visually have a very nice result. Everything is cooked through and tastes good. Vegetables are rather problematic with these air fryers. The hot air dries them out super quickly and then they burn very easily. Our tip: things that you normally cook in the pot should stay in the pot, but if you wish to have something like grilled vegetables, you can do this, of course. In that case, you should work with a little additional oil, though. You should also monitor the cooking status carefully and play with the temperatures if necessary to get good results. Baking, on the other hand, works pretty well. We tried it with muffins and, what can we say? They rose up well, were firm enough on the outside and fluffy on the inside. Good cooking results. Well, what more could we want? Basically, we actually wanted less, namely less fat. That's what the manufacturers of air fryers advertise. And it's true. By simply not bathing the food in fat, but cooking it with hot air, we simply have less fat on the product. The bottom line is that we can taste more of the food again because it is no longer covered in fat. All right, but what about the handling? Is it even practical to use such an air fryer? Basically, it depends on the appliance itself. This Philips appliance comes with a cooking basket and a tray. The advantage here is that you can turn the food more easily than in a conventional oven. However, as the cooking basket is quite heavy and solid, you have to make a bit of an effort when turning the food. You should also make sure that no more than 1 or 2 centimeters of liquid gets into the basket. It seems that the bottom row of screws is not fully sealed so that it starts to leak. On the other hand, it is helpful that the basket fully envelops the tray so that no crumbs or such are spread around the kitchen when you shake it. The appliance also stops when the drawer is removed, which makes the handling a little more convenient. If your concern is more about the noise level, you can relax with this Philips device. In our comparison, this air fryer was the quietest appliance with approximately 53 to 55 decibels. This air fryer is also relatively well positioned in terms of its heat development. The handle remains cool, and the outside gets warm, but not hot. The basket seems to be well shielded, and was neutral to warm. Only the air from the outlet gets quite hot, but that was to be expected. And as a reminder, you can find the link to the Philips air fryer under the video in the description. And if the video was helpful to you, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. In terms of workmanship, the Philips air fryer performs well. Gaps are not really an issue. There may be 1 or 2 spots on the edges that don't fit perfectly, but in this case we're complaining on a high level. The display is set in well, and apart from 1 or 2 small dents, looks well made. The whole thing is made of some smooth plastic, which makes a good overall impression. The protective cap for the tray, on the other hand, looks a little wobbly, but is also generally okay in the end. When it comes to cleaning the air fryer, the appliance should first cool down to allow safe handling. Put the removable parts, meaning the cooking basket and tray, in the dishwasher afterwards. Everything else should be treated with a damp cloth. Let's come to the conclusion. With the Philips Airfryer XL HD9280, you get an appliance in the higher price range, which on the whole delivers a corresponding performance. A rather heavy and clunky cooking basket and an unsealed row of screws can definitely be criticized in this price range, especially when you are talking about a branded appliance. But that's about it. We don't have much more to complain about. Handling, workmanship, volume, heat development. We like them all. If you add the well-implemented app control and the clean integration of the air fryer into the recipe instructions, we ultimately reach the level that such an air fryer can achieve in terms of smart technology. Those who enjoy cooking and want to try out something new should certainly get their money's worth with the app and air fryer. So, we reviewed this air fryer for you. If you are particularly interested in the product, then take a look at the video description below. There you'll find all the links. Otherwise, I'd be delighted if you stayed tuned. Our Endcard will provide a few interesting video suggestions for you.